made of.
T-minus 5 minutes and 16 seconds and counting. Let me tell you very quickly what you're going to be seeing and what you can sort of look for on this liftoff. The ignition sequence, the engines fire up 9 seconds before the actual liftoff. The hold-down arms are thrown away, and away they go. That's to build up power, and up they go, 7.5 million pounds of thrust. Liftoff comes at that point at 0. Then they kind of yaw a little bit. They turn around and pitch over to start their course out over the Atlantic Ocean from here. At 1 minute and 21 seconds into the flight, they reach the max Q, it's called, the maximum dynamic pressure, and this is a critical point in the flight. At that point, if there are any structural weaknesses in this great rocket, they would probably show up. An aerodynamic load of 460,000 pounds on the vehicle. It's 8 miles high at that point, 4 miles downrange. That's when you see the contrail begin, right at that point. It's moving then at some 1,786 miles an hour. Then in 2 minutes, 15 seconds into the flight, the inboard engines cut off, and just 20 seconds later, the outboard engine of the S-1C, the first stage of the rocket. It's then 40 miles high, 44 miles downrange. Then the separation of the first stage and the ignition of the second stage, 2 minutes and 43 seconds into the flight. And we see the launch escape system. We've seen it jettison in the past at 3 minutes and 17 seconds. The second stage cuts off at 7 minutes and 40 seconds. The vehicle then 111 miles downrange, or high, and 700 miles downrange, almost in its orbital height. And we have seen that far in the past with these remarkable long lens cameras here. We may not be able to see that today because of the cloud cover. The third stage then ignites at 9 minutes into the flight, and they're well on their way into orbit, and shortly thereafter, in the second orbit around the Earth, into the translunar flight. Jack King of Launch Control here, who will be giving us the countdown from this moment. He is giving that countdown now, and it is at just 3 minutes before launch. Let's listen to Jack King.
This is Apollo Saturn Launch Control. We've just passed the 3-minute mark. We've had the firing command. That's the signal that the automatic sequence is now in. And the remainder of the count will be handled by the master computer here in the firing room as various of events click off, leading up to the ignition of the 5 engines in the first stage of the Saturn V at the 0, with liftoff at the 0 mark in the count. The actual ignition of those 5 engines will come at 8.9 seconds in the count. We'll have a report of all engines running at the 2-second mark. At that time, and over the next 2 seconds, those engines will be specially checked to assure that we have proper thrust. Once that occurs, we will get commit, meaning that the hold-down arms can release, and we will get liftoff of the Saturn V launch vehicle atop 7.5 million pounds of thrust. We're now coming up toward the 2-minute mark in the count. At this point, the tanks in the vehicle pressurizing. 2 minutes and counting. Our status board indicates here in the control room that all aspects involved are ready. Tom Stafford has just reported back that they want to thank everybody for all the help. We're now at T-minus 1 minute, 45 seconds and counting. We'll go on internal power with the launch vehicle at the 50-second mark. At 17 seconds in the count, the guidance system goes internal. This is guidance reference release. We already have the proper flight azimuth in. Now 90 seconds and counting. Now 90 and counting. The astronauts have turned off their ground communication at this time. However, they are on VHF and, of course, the S-band circuits, as well as the special astronaut communication circuit. 1 minute, 12 seconds.